Yo, welcome to the Young Vagabond podcast. Tell them what we're about, Bryson.
Man, we're talking about enduring the journey of life together through truth and love.
Yes,
you feel
sir. Back at it again. Episode 4, take 2, actually, because the first file, had some audio technical difficulties. You know how it is in the showbiz,
But as street poet Bryson Tiller once said, we back and we better. You know what I'm saying?
He did say that. And he is a street poet. Well, that's great, man. We're here. It's had a good Easter Sunday. We're currently recording on a Monday in the afternoon, which is something new because we don't normally record in the daytime. Like you said, I will actually have stuff to do after I record this podcast. I will not go to bed. So that's cool. But anyways, how was your Easter?
Man, it was great. It was blessed. Got to spend time with the family. Got to go to church with some friends. So it was awesome, dope, lovely experience. How about you, young man?
That's what's up. Young man, thank you. Even though we're now the same age. But anyways, I went home, saw my family. Or not, I did't go home. I went to Jackson.
No way.
Because I got an uncle who lives in Jackson.
Are you serious?
Shout out Uncle John. Yup, shout out to him. Family was in Jackson. Hung out with them, went to church. Got to see my little baby cousin, Sydney. So it was...
Tell me more.
They had a pool. They did. That was cool. We didn't get in the pool.
I know you didn't get in the pool.
Why? Why is that, Bryson?
No.
Because you don't think I can swim?
No, that's not. I just said I know you didn't get in the pool, man. That's fine.
No, it was too cold outside. Yeah, but anyways, like I said, that was fun. It was good. We had good time. It was good to be with family as always. Played Call of Duty with my sister too, so it was fun. Yeah. So it was a good little break. Also, I turned 19 this past week. This past Monday, actually. I turned 19 this past Monday because because it was my birthday. Gosh dang it. Anyways, because it was my birthday.
What's going on?
Because my birthday's on April 3rd. Yeah. So I turned 19 now. So blessed to see another year. It was wonderful. I had some sweet texts from a lot of people. Bryson made me a nice video, put it on Young Vagabond. It's been a blast. So
gosh.
Okay. Anyways.
It wasn't my birthday, so you can't ask me how was my birthday.
You're right. Dang. Oh, this is a great episode. I love it already. Anyways, episode 4. What will we get into today, man?
Man, we're talking about something that you need because you just fumbled through all of that.
I sure did.
I'm just messing with you, bro. We're talking about discipline.
Stumbled to mess through that one, but it's okay. We just keep on pushing, bro.
Yeah, because you know what's crazy, man? Like when you really think about it, like when you stumble, you still gotta get back up and walk.
Yup. No, you're right, bro. Yeah. Though the righteous fall 7 times, they get back up again, right? And that's what discipline's all about. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
So anyways, yes, but before we get into this episode, I want to take a real quick second to shout out all the people, but shout out to our man Travis, who is behind the cameras, constantly helping us. Shout out to Boosie, who set up the camera the first time we recorded. Unfortunately, it ended up being in vain because we're here again, but we appreciate that. Shout out to all the people who promote our stuff, who share our stuff, who follow us, subscribe. If you're not following or subscribing, consider doing that. It really helps us out. We want to get this out to as many people as possible and change the culture for as many people as possible. So please consider following, subscribing, whatever thing that you're on. If it's Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Google Podcasts, if you're weird. And shout out. No, I'm just playing, bro. Shout out to all the Google podcasters. I'm just kidding. We love you guys. We appreciate you. But anyways, please follow, subscribe. And if, this content hits you and you believe it can hit somebody else and change and be something that's encouraging to somebody else, please consider sharing it as well. So, we're getting into it. I'm talking about discipline. So, discipline. What do you think about discipline, Mike?
What do I think about discipline? Man, I think it's a heart posture, bro. Bro, why you looking at me?
No, bro, you're right. You're right. It is a heart posture.
Yeah. I think it's a heart posture, bro. Because I think it goes back to like I said before, do you believe like your life has purpose? Do you think your life matters? Because if you don't, then you won't have something to hold you accountable to. You know what I'm saying? Or motivate you to be disciplined.
No, you're right. Boosie, the man who helped us set up the camera, he hit me with this fire quote. He says, "Discipline is knowing that you can do wrong, and still choosing to do right."
Yes, sir.
And discipline, like life without discipline, is chaotic. It's a chaotic life because you're just kind of whatever by the wayside, whatever by the wind. You're just gonna go do whatever. And I think you really hit it on the nose. It is a heart posture because discipline, like oftentimes there are not a physical barrier towards you making a bad decision, especially in our world today. You can go out and, you can do whatever you want. And, that's celebrated in our culture, but discipline is that heart posture of knowing even though I can go out and do something wrong, I'm still going to choose to do the right thing. And whatever the right thing looks like for you, like doing the right thing is a lot of times not easy. Like I know for me, like recently I've been trying to eat healthier and stuff like that, and also drink more water. And that's oftentimes not easy. It's let me go and mute mine too. But anyways, it's oftentimes not easy. It's oftentimes a hard choice that you have to make, but it's still the right choice, and it's still a choice that's ultimately going to benefit you towards the end. And I think it's important why we live a life of discipline. So this episode is really about not only understanding the importance, because I think a lot of people understand the importance of discipline, but not a lot of people understand like how to go about growing in their discipline, how to go about being more disciplined, and what that looks like.
Yeah, facts.
Were you gonna add something to it?
Oh no, I think. Well, yeah, I'll say this. I feel like it's discipline is a journey and not a destination, because it's so easy to get caught up in how the action that you want to change, but you miss the process of you changing that action.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like it's so easy to say just say guy Bill wants to quit smoking, right? But there's a collective process to him quit smoking. He can't just quit cold turkey, because then he'll have like withdrawals and all of that stuff. But it's an overtime like process, and discipline is not pretty sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you gotta just endure the process and understand that like the journey is what makes it. Because like the result is awesome, but like realizing like, like I did one less puff than I did yesterday, or I cursed one less time than I did 2 weeks ago, or something like that. So it's a process.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, I think one thing that in our first take of the episode that we talked about was that balance between grace and I think it was truth. Or I don't remember the exact wording we used, but you have to have a certain amount of grace with yourself to know that discipline is a journey. You're not going to be at the destination immediately.
Facts.
But you also have to balance that with accountability and truth to know like, okay, yeah, I did this thing, but I'm going to not do it no longer. Like some people are kind of stuck in the stage where I'm only human, I'm young, God can judge, only God can judge me or whatever. But that's not the right heart posture to have either. Yes, you are only human. Yes, you're going to fall down. Yes, though the righteous fall. But once again, they fall 7 times, but they get back up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so like it has to be that balance of like you can't just be one or the other, because if you're one extreme or the other extreme, you're either going to be too hard on yourself, live a life of like constantly diminishing where you are, and what's the word I'm looking for? Not downplaying, but like
beating down.
Yeah, beating down on yourself. Yeah. And you do that long enough, you're going to eventually discourage yourself and not go and grow at all. But in the same essence, you can't give yourself so much grace that you're not leaving room for uncomfortability. And we know, as I've talked about, being uncomfortable breeds that growth. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes you do have to face the uncomfortable truth of, hey, this thing that I'm doing is a bad thing. I need to fix it. Like the reason I started eating healthier is because like I had went to the doctor and my blood pressure was a little bit higher than I wanted it to be. That's an uncomfortable truth. I'm not gonna like be like, oh, whatever, I'm young. And it wasn't like crazy high, you know what I'm saying? But it was still something like, okay, let me go ahead and nip this in the bud now before this becomes a problem, and start setting that habit. And that requires discipline, but it's worth it.
Facts.
I keep thinking you're about to say something, but anyways, Going back into it, now that we kind of like talked about what discipline looks like and why be disciplined, like I'm always a 3-point kind of guy. I break things down into 3 points, how it be. So I think discipline looks a lot like in spiritual. There's spiritual discipline. You need to have mental discipline, and you have physical discipline. And kind of like how we talked with intentionality, there's a building block of all 3. You know what I'm saying? All right, you build off of each one is what I'm basically saying. Like you can't get to the physical discipline, the discipline that everybody wants to be at, because that's the most tangible form of discipline, if you're not first spiritually disciplined. And then you can't be, once you get to the spiritual discipline, you got to be mentally disciplined, and then you can finally hit that block of physical discipline. And so like when you kind of start to look into like what does spiritual discipline look like, I think it goes back to what you said about that heart posture. It says like in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
Yes.
And when we talked about intentionality and looking like the intentionality of your thoughts, I think spiritual discipline that's a lot what it looks like, is that intentionality in your thoughts, because it's like, let's say Betty Boo, it's New Year's, and her New Year's like resolution is to stop cursing and to curse less. Yeah. But like Betty Boo, like she can't just go and be like, okay, January 2nd, I'm never cursing again, and expect that to work. Like, especially with habits that grow with you. Like if Betty Boo started cussing at like 13 and now she's a 45-year-old woman, like you can't break that habit just in a day. Like, first off, because it's grown with you, it's something that is, in a way, attached to your heart, and you have to first look into removing that from your heart. And I think that's a lot of times not tangible. It requires a lot of, like, self-reflection and self-work. I think it requires a lot of, like, you got to surrender that to the Lord. True. That's just me personally. That's what I think you got to do, is you got to surrender that to the Lord. And say, Lord, this is something in my heart that I don't like, or this is some action I don't like. I'm going to give it to you and let you change and do the heart transformation for me. But then also you got to self-reflect. You got to look at, okay, why did I start cursing? Do I do it because it's cool? Did I do it because I was peer pressured into it? And then once you start looking at the root of it, it becomes a lot easier to uproot something. Like imagine trying to cut down a plant. You know what I'm saying? Let's say there's this gigantic plant. A lot of times, like, you can't uproot that plant or can't cut that plant without first examining the roots and weakening the roots of that. And so when we look at it from the sense of like bad habits, you can't uproot a bad habit and take it out of your life if you don't examine those roots. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to look at the roots, uproot the roots. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. It's kind of like a broken leg. Like when you get a broken leg, you got a crutch, right? So sometimes those bad habits can become crutches that like, we've become accustomed to like using to like walk in life, right? But in order for you to get off of that crutch, you got to rebuild that leg. You got to, go through rehab and things like that. You got to find things that like help supplement and help build up that muscle again, so you can walk right. Yeah. So like the same way you got to like work to get rid of that crutch, you got to work to get rid of those bad habits.
Yeah. And like, I know for me, like self-reflection, like journaling, plays a big part in how I'm able to examine the roots and examine the crutches and the areas of my life. Kind of like going back to your example, like the reason that you have crutches is because you have some underlying issue that requires you to have those crutches. And so like if you're supplementing, feelings of loneliness with like pornography because you have those feelings of loneliness, no matter what accountability program you implement, no matter whatever you do, if you don't examine the underlying issue, which is that broken leg, that brokenness, that feeling of loneliness, or whatever it looks like for you personally, you're not going to be able to fully get away from that crutch. You may be able to. We got a friend right now who she like tore her ACL, and she be like hobbling around without a brace, which is dumb. Put on your brace. Hey, you know what I'm saying?
Grace,
huh?
It's wild.
Huh?
It's
wild.
Yeah, there you go.
He's working on it. Anyway. I'd be a little bit too point. But anyways, it's a silly, goofy little action. But regardless, like she can get around. You know what I'm saying? Like she can, hobble around and get around. But ultimately she gets to a point where like it hurts, so we got to put on back on the brace. And I think that's a lot of times what it looks like in our own life. We try to hobble around without the brace and be like, oh, it's okay, I'm good, I'm healed. But eventually you get to a point where something happens in your life, a bad a relationship breaks down, bad circumstances, whatever it looks like, and you end up falling back onto that crutch and needing that crutch again.
Yeah, facts, man. You gotta let. And I don't know if this ties into discipline, but like I feel like you gotta let those wounds. I mean, you gotta let those scars become wounds, because like if those scars are still open, you're just gonna bleed on everybody. And like if you don't, like you said, get to the root problem, like fix what's going on, then you're just gonna keep bleeding everybody.
Right.
And eventually you're gonna bleed out.
Yeah.
Like whatever it looks like for you, but you gotta like get down to the root of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, even though it's not like directly tied to discipline, it is still like something that is the foundation that you have to lay for discipline. You ain't got to be perfect and have all of your issues and healed from all of your problems, but you do have to examine and look at them. You know what I'm saying? And when you examine and looking at them, as those things heal, you're able to grow in your discipline. You're able to grow in those areas of your life, because a lot of people are just living undisciplined, chaotic lives. And that's because they don't want to do the work of examining some of those hard issues. And it's uncomfortable. Like, we talked about, I think, in either episode 3 or episode 2 about like when we were I was journaling, and it literally hurt to write some words on the paper. But if I didn't do that, like, where would I be? You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be, at the level of now emotional maturity and emotional recovery from that action that I was at. And like, for like tying this back to discipline, like I had went through just some difficult things throughout COVID. And it really exposed a lot of just undealt with character issues that I needed to go and deal with. And I journaled a lot during that time after, I started coming out of those negative circumstances. And journaling and examining, I was able to realize, dang, I'm actually, well, my mama was right a lot of these things, but I actually am super prideful. I am unwilling to do hard things. I am blah, 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 and blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was from there that I did that self-reflection that then allowed me to go do and start my Instagram channel where I did self-improvement and self-growth. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't have gotten to that stage of self-improvement and self-growth if I weren't willing to first do that uncomfortable work of examining myself. You know what I'm saying?
And like, because you uncovered those things, like I feel like this Holy Spirit just hit me with this, bro. Like, correction without meaning or cause is abuse. So like, don't abuse yourself. Because like it's so easy to be like, yo, I need to do that. But like, if you don't get down to the root problem of what you're doing, then you're really just correcting nothing. You're abusing yourself. So learn to correct with causation and correct with meaning behind it. You know what I'm saying?
That's fine, bro. Correction without meaning is abuse.
Yes. Because like, just imagine if Bill has a son, he comes in and whoops his kid, and you see the kid did nothing wrong, right? Dang, bro, like, why did you just abuse that kid? But if Bill, give him a little spanking because he was acting out in front of company or whatever, like, there's a meaning behind it. But like, without that meaning behind it, that's just abusal of a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, and correction without meaning, like, correction with meaning leads to growth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
facts.
Now, little Timmy, or whatever his name is probably not going to act out to the level. He might still act out, but he's not going to act out to the level that he did last time in front of company, and he's going to grow from that, right?
Gradual.
But if you just beating on little Timmy, like, not only does that not lead to growth, it a lot of times leads to regression. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that applies to our own selves. If we're so hard on ourselves that we're abusing ourselves, we're not gonna, like, that's not gonna, it might feel like we might grow, but really what it's gonna do is it's gonna regress.
Facts.
Because you get to a stage, and I know I've gotten to a stage in my own life with trying to break bad habits, where you get to a sense of hopelessness, because you're like, oh, I'm so bad, I can't do this, like, blah, 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 right? And you do that long enough, you're gonna feel hopeless. And that's why it's so important, going back to that tie-in of like grace and truth, that you have to have that equilibrium, you have to have that balance. And I think the Lord models that balance wonderfully throughout Scripture, and just, I know He's modeled that wonderfully in my own personal life of that truth and that and that grace. Because I mean, like Jesus, like he told her how it was. Like the woman at the well, when he was like, "Go get your husband," and she's like, "I don't have a husband." He's like, "I know."
5 of 'em.
He's like, "I know you don't have a husband." Like dang, ain't gonna do it like that, you know what I'm saying? But like, it was still that right after that, like he still lovingly like loved her, extended that grace. But at the end of it, he was like, all right, you can, go and sin no more. You know what I'm saying? Like he extended that love, he extended that grace, he extended that salvation. But then not only after that, he was like, okay, you go back to doing your life. No, he was like, okay, go and sin no more. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's what we have to look in our own life. Yes, we have to extend ourselves grace. We have to, you know what I'm saying, extend ourselves that love, right? But then we have to get up and say, okay, no more. I'm not going to do that bad action. And even if you fall back again, don't get so like in your head about it that you're like, okay, it's hopeless. But also don't get so in your head about it that you're like, oh, it's just whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that nonchalant behavior is not healthy, and that being hard on yourself behavior is also not healthy.
Yeah.
But really, I think when you have that foundation of that spiritual discipline, like being disciplined in your own spirit, and being disciplined in that heart posture of the things that you begin to love, I think discipline. I think discipline becomes a lot easier. But not only do you have to have that spiritual discipline and discipline in that spirit, but then you have to have that mental discipline. And so like, I know for me, like what mental discipline looks like, but I'm curious what you think mental discipline looks like, or how you practice it.
Practice mental discipline. This is where I feel like, my bad. This is where I feel like I need to be more gracious, because like when it comes to like things I shouldn't do, I just don't do it. It's like, it's simple for me.
Right.
And I know that's like goofy, but like that's just how it is for me, bro. Just don't do it.
Right. Well, shoot. All right, that's the end of Young Vagabond episode now. Just don't do it. No, but I mean, like, what that actually represents, it shows is the level of maturity you've gotten, because you've mastered these things. And I know, like, if you could like speak on it, we talked about this earlier, and we had talked about it on the first take of the episode, about like when it came to like spirit, like being pure, and how you beat that battle.
Yeah. So, man, it was around like 2020. We all had time on our hands. So what I did was I was like, you know what? I'm tired of these lustful thoughts. So what I did was I got scriptures on lust, and I wrote them down, and I got scriptures on other things as well. And I made 4 stacks. And what I did was I did 100 push-ups. I did 25 push-ups, read a stack and prayed, 25 push-ups, read a stack and prayed, until I got to 100 push-ups. And I would do that every single day. And like I can quote scripture like verbatim, like no temptation has overtaken you except such as common a man, but God is faithful to the not like to be tempted beyond what you're able, but with the temptation will provide the way of escape. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I used to be able to say this to like verbatim every single day.
Right.
And it's because I like dedicated to like, you know what, something got to change.
Right.
So like that was my way that I made a change. And then also like I talked about the sermon series. Like one morning I woke up freaking 6 o'clock in the morning. Don't know how I got up there early, but woke up that morning, watched like 5 sermons, and took notes on every single one.
Yeah.
And that's how like I overcame lust.
Yeah.
Of course I'm human, things happen, but that was the foundation that propelled me into my growth.
And I think what that sets, like, that shows like the maturity, you know what I'm saying, that you've now grown in because you went through that process. Because I imagine that process was uncomfortable, doing those 100 push-ups and doing that daily, right? But that building of that habit now allows you to way easier being like, okay, I'm just not going to do this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like, you have to get to that level. It's not just like one step, you're there. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think it's encouraging to my spirit, because it's like, okay, I can get to that level if I'm willing to do the work. And I think that's a lot of time what it's like to do the work. I mean, that's oftentimes what people are missing, is they don't want to do the work. But it's like, okay, so how do we do the work? And I think one big thing that I feel like the Holy Spirit had hit me a few days ago is one of the best ways I think to build discipline in all areas of your life is just to keep your promises. It says, like in Ecclesiastes 5:4-5, when you make a vow to God, do not delay to fulfill it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. And because it's like, okay, really that keeping your promises is having integrity. And I think integrity is a building block of discipline. And if you make promises and then you keep them, like that means sometimes you're gonna have to do uncomfortable things. There's gonna be sometimes you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't told him I was gonna go to that thing, but I'm still gonna go to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when you start doing that, you start once you start keeping promises to other people, you're able to keep promises to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what discipline a lot of times is. It's like I promise I'm not gonna go back and do this. I promise I am gonna go to the gym and do that, right? And so if you want to start learning how to do that internally, practice that externally. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of that fake it till you make it kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Like you go out and you are faithful to your word. You know what I'm saying? Every time you make a promise, you go out and you actually honor the promise you make. You will begin to have a kind of a mental kind of discipline. You know what I'm saying? That discipline in your mind to say, okay, if I say I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to go do this thing, right? And when you start doing that, you start practicing that, and that becomes a habit. The habit of keeping promises externally is going to always start to reflect internally. And so when you start saying, like I say, when you go back to like, I'm going to go do these things that I said I was going to do for these people. I am going to turn in this assignment that I told my teacher I was going to turn in. Like you do that, then when it's time to be like, okay, I'm done watching pornography, I'm not going to do that anymore. When those moments where you're tempted to fall back into it, the discipline that you have with those learning how to keep promises with other people, you're going to be able to have with yourself.
You just said something, bro. So like I thought about this story. So I wear this white wristband, if you're watching, this white wristband every day because it's my reminder to just start. Because I once heard in this sermon story of like this black belt. So this black belt walks into a dojo and he sees a white belt. And the white belt was like, dang, man, you got the hardest belt that you can get. And the black belt says, no, you have the hardest belt because the hardest thing you have to do is to start. So like, just start.
Right.
Just start. Whatever that looks like, even if it's small, just start.
Yeah. Like that's like in all aspects of life. You know, I didn't go to the gym yesterday. Okay, go today. You know what I'm saying? Don't let what happened yesterday discourage you from what you're going to do today.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, I looked at something I shouldn't have looked at on the internet. Okay, don't do it again today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I went clubbing last weekend, got blackout drunk, made some bad decisions, texting my ex, whatever. Okay, break up with your ex. Don't do it again. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I know a lot of times, like, it is a hard thing to do because it's so enticing a lot of times. Like those bad decisions are so enticing, but it goes back to that intentionality in mind that we kind of talked about of knowing delayed gratification. Yeah. And being like, okay, even though I really want to do this thing, is it going to benefit me in the future? You know what I'm saying? Even though I don't really want to do this thing, is it going to benefit me in the future? And then go out and do it. And then with that, if you do make a mistake and you know that in your heart of hearts, I don't want to be this anymore. I don't want to curse anymore. I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to whatever. That's, a lot of things that us as young people struggle with. Yeah. Start, you know what I'm saying? If you mess up, start again. If you messed up an hour ago, start again. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And I think, like I said, it doesn't sound easy, but when you break it down, it really is that easy as just starting. Because you don't get to the mountaintop after one step. You get up to the mountaintop after tens of thousands of continuous steps. Yeah. But you're not going to get to that mountaintop if you don't take that first step. And
just like, I think I mentioned it, what was it, last episode about every great falls by 100 bad decisions. But every great is also made by 100 good decisions. So, like, it all starts with that one decision.
Right.
You know? And you said a lot, bro. And it just made me thinking about, like, this notion of refocusing. Because I don't know if you heard, but, like, have you ever heard, like, the quote, work the winter just to ball all summer? Or, like, work the summer just to chill in the winter or something like that?
No.
And you never heard nothing like that? Okay.
That's wild, though.
But you know what's crazy? That's, like, out in the world, but, like, Proverbs speaks on that. It says in Proverbs 10:5, a wise youth harvests in the summer, but one who sleeps during the harvest is a disgrace. So, like, it's all about, like, embracing the season that you're in, bro, and like realizing that like this moment can be the defining moment of who I am in the future. So like just realize that your choice is important.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And with that, I will add that when you refocus, it's also important to define your success. You know what I'm saying? Because
Facts.
I was watching Instagram Reels sometimes be coming up clutch because I was
They
watching this
do.
Instagram Reel and it was talking about like if you don't define success, toxic culture will tell you that you're not doing enough.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That every day you're not doing enough. And I know that's something that I can get stuck in because a lot of times I operate with the belief that if I'm not at 100%, then I'm not doing it right. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that like toxic, work culture really gets us with is because we think that we're supposed to be at 100% every day. You know what I'm saying? We're not supposed to be at 100% every single day.
Yeah.
We're not. We're probably only supposed to be at 100% every so often. You know what I'm saying? Most days we're operating at a 90 or at 60, at 40 or whatever it is, and that's okay. And I think sometimes we tell ourselves it's not okay, and culture tells us it's not okay. But we have to recognize that it is okay to not be at your best all the time, right? Because when you believe that you have to be at the best all the time, that's when the enemy really can get you and then start to lie to you. When you make a mistake, they can be like, okay, look, you can't even. Like you can never beat this. You know what I'm saying? You tried so hard and you couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So give up, right? But you have to do like what you see. You have to get back up and you have to start again. You know what I'm saying?
And you said something about like society's narrative, like kind of like controlling us, right? And I think it goes to like these two C words. Either you can let this life control you or compel you. And like just like God doesn't want robots. He wants humans. He wants your heart. So like the love of God compels us. Just like instead of letting this world control the way you see, let your journey compel you to want to do more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not control you as in, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. Oh, I'm not doing as much as DJ, or I'm not doing enough as Travis. You know what? Be content in knowing that if you were doing more than you were yesterday, if you're doing better than you were yesterday, even if it's just like an inch or a small increment, that's all that matters. Like that's something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
And I feel like we miss the fact of celebrating small wins, but also I feel like this is a principle we kind of learned at basketball is like you never get too high, you never get too low. So like, of course, embrace the small wins, celebrate them, but like you said, like don't get too caught up in the moment because like don't miss like the things that can happen in the future.
Right. Yeah. I think when you're convicted, you're compelled, right?
Facts.
But when you compare, you're controlled. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say that again.
You should.
When you're convicted, you're compelled. You know what I'm saying? But when you're controlled, you compare. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let, looking at, Bryson and that's Bryson. Looking at Bryson and Travis's race convict you to, work on yourself. You know what I'm saying? To once again stare back inward. Don't let it stare outward and be like, oh my gosh, look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's when you're controlled. Because that's when you become controlled by your insecurities, right? But when it's just you're convicted, then you get compelled to walk in your full identity of who you are. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, like I said, it's so important to define success. And that's like setting goals. You know what I'm saying? I think that one of the greatest ways to become a disciplined person is to set goals, right? Because that's when you can celebrate your victories. When you hit a new milestone of like, okay, I did do this. I did make it, like for pornography, there's something called the 90-day challenge where you go 90 days without porn or masturbation or anything like that. That's a big milestone. Set that goal and then set that milestone. You know what I'm saying? And then celebrate that milestone when you get at it. Don't get too high and think, okay, now I'm good, right? But if you never set goals, if you never set milestones, you'll be basically shooting in the dark. You know what I'm saying? At all times. You'll always be aimlessly wondering, trying to figure out, okay, where is this? Where are we going? You know what I'm saying? Like, it says in Habakkuk 2, it says, then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. Write down your goals and make it plain. One of the biggest things like for productivity that has been for helping me become a more productive person is to-do lists, right? I write my yearly goals, right, which is just like a big to-do list, right?
Yeah.
I write, my monthly goals, right, which is a small to-do list, and then I write my daily goals. So I have things I want to accomplish for the month, things I want to accomplish for the year, and then things I want to accomplish to my day-to-day. And every time I check off one of those things that I do for that day, it is such a huge boost of dopamine and serotonin, because it's like, okay, I accomplished something, and I find some happiness and find some joy out of accomplishing that, right? But if you don't do that, right, then you're always feeling like you're not doing enough. You're always feeling like I could be doing better. No, you did exactly what you planned to do today, and that's okay.
Sometimes you got to treat life like canvas and submit an assignment.
Say that again.
Sometimes you got to treat life like canvas and submit an assignment.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. Sometimes you got to treat life like canvas, submit an assignment. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like it really, it's so important to understand your assignment, to understand your goal, just from day to day,
Yes.
right? Because, like I said, you will wander aimlessly and you will always feel defeated. And the longer you go like that, the more that feeling of hopelessness creeps in, and the more you want to just slide back into what you shouldn't slide back into. And so, that's what that's what spiritual and mental discipline looks like. But then I think, like physical, like bringing it to the more practical. I mean, we already made a big one, which is setting goals, right?
Yeah.
Like I think if you want to be a more disciplined person, it goes back to that keeping promises. You know what I'm saying? You keep promises with other people. You keep promises with yourself. Goals help you keep like our promises to yourself, right? And then every time you achieve that, then you can unlock another. You can go farther into your journey. You can take another step. I'll give you an example. Like recently, I had looked on like screen time, because screen time gives you a report every week, and I saw that my screen time was like, for Instagram, was like something like 12. No, it was 15 hours. That's what it was. 15 hours is half a day on one app. That is too much time for me personally. That might not be someone else, but for me personally, I feel like that is too much time to be spending on one app. And if I am going to spend that much time on one app, it to me should be the Bible, right? The Bible app, but it's not, right? And so I was like, okay, I want to solve this problem, because it's a problem, right? It's a problem of discipline in my life. I need to be more disciplined in this area. So first, going to spiritual discipline, submitted that kind of, that dependency kind of, for me, what it was. I submitted that to the Lord. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm spending too much time on this, and it's kind of, to me, what we call in the Christians becoming an idol to me, because of how much time I'm putting into it. I want to put more time into you than I do into this app, right? So that's the spirit, right? Because now I'm changing my heart posture. Then I started looking, not only that, why do I spend so much time on this app? Is it because I'm feeling insecure in this moment? I want to find validation and likes. That's a big one for me. Is it because I'm feeling lonely in this moment? I can drown myself out in Instagram and kind of create that illusion of connection with other people. Is that what it is? Is it because right now I'm dealing with some lustful thoughts and I want to go look at some pretty women on Instagram? That's the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had to go and look and examine my own heart posture and look, okay, what is causing me to want to be on this app so much, right? Once I got there, then I went out, and I think this is really big. What comes with discipline and having discipline with your mind is accountability. I reached out, posted publicly on my Instagram page, hey, what are some tips I can do to help me reduce my time? And like the big 3 ones I got was what was it? It was like delete the app or have screen time on the app. It was examine why I'm spending so much time on the app. And then the third one was hijack my time on Instagram and make it more productive and useful for me. And so from that, I got outside sources, you know what I'm saying? People who could see the situation from a better and deeper way than I could personally, and going back to accountability. And then I, created a game plan, some goals that I was going to set, and attacked it. I had my dad lock my phone from 8 to 4. That's accountability right there, because my dad now has control. Locked it from 8 to 4 from Monday through Friday, right? And then every time I would get on the app, I'd be like, okay, just do a mental check. Why am I getting on the app, right? And then 3, I started liking posts that had to do with more Christian content, that had to do with more creative things, like for podcasts, for like just design stuff, and other things I'm interested in, like music production. I started liking posts like that, and making my Instagram actually an environment that I wanted to be in, instead of just, stupid memes, which there's nothing wrong with stupid memes. I'm all for the stupid memes, but like things like that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And literally, I was like, okay, I want to reduce my time by like at least 3 hours, is what I said, right? I knocked that goal out of the park. Praise the Lord. That's not me who did it, but like I knocked that goal out of the park. I went from 15 hours to 10 hours, right? In 1 week, right? That's an example. That's literally an example right now, like real time, just 3 weeks ago, of implementing the things that we've been talking about, right? One of the other big things that I said is I'm going to have grace with myself. You know what I'm saying? Like if I don't reach where I'm at, I'm not going to beat myself up about it and then just give up, right? I'm going to have grace with myself. When it was my birthday on Monday, I was like, okay, I'm not going to make myself do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be on my phone from 8 to 4. It's all right? Yeah. Because you have to have a level of, like I said, that grace and that truth, right? But when it all came together and I really implemented all these things that we've just been talking about over this past like 40 minutes, it was amazing to see like how much like the growth came from just following those steps. Like that spiritual, that mental, and that physical discipline led to me reaching the goal that I wanted, and I got to celebrate it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I once heard in a sermon, like we tend to overcomplicate things, and sometimes it just boils down to just doing the next right thing. It just boils down to that, and laying out the process of how you walk through, dealing with your screen time. It reminded me of something that I learned in marketing class, which is crazy, and it's basically like the buy-in process. And it starts off with need recognition, information search, evaluation of alternatives, the purchase decision, and then the post-purchase behavior.
Right.
So like need recognition, recognizing that you have a need, that you have an area that you lack in, that you want to get discipline in. So let's work on that. Information search. How can you get this discipline? How can go forward with this? And there's 2 types of information searches. There's internal, which is like realizing where is it coming from within you, and then external, where is it coming from in your environment? And then also evaluation of alternatives. What can you do to supplement the thing that you used to do now with something that's better and good? Right. Purchase decision. Okay, how can I buy into this? Yeah. What does it look like going forward in my life? What is the plan, the action that I can do to like walk this out? And then post-purchase behavior. What does my life look like now that I'm actually walking these things out? Yeah.
Right. Kind of that like evaluating the problem, evaluating the solution, and then evaluating the impact. You know what I'm saying? And I will say, like, with that, you got it right there. You know what I'm saying?
Study guide.
Like, like with that, like, especially when it comes to evaluating the problem, I think it's so crucial to consult other people.
Facts.
Like, I could have just been like, okay, 15 hours on social media. It's not that bad. I'm just going to go about it. But, then I posted about it just at first, like, ooh, that's a lot of time. And people are like, ooh, that's a lot of time, DJ. I think you may, you know what I'm saying, want to do something about that, right? And then not only that, but I consulted people about the solution of the problem, right? Because you can't recognize, it goes back to accountability and vulnerability, you can't recognize every fault in your area. Like one of the biggest prayers I pray is, Lord, search me and reveal to me the things in my heart that I don't even see, that are wrong or not pleasing to you. And, let that heart change happen, right? And I think we have to do that a lot. Like discipline and accountability and vulnerability go hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? They are tied together. And I just wanted to add that.
Three musketeers.
Yeah, they are the 3 musketeers. You know what I'm saying? Just like us 3, the vagabonds. But yeah, you have to have that accountability, right, towards that discipline, because you can't, like, self-discipline is important. You got to have it, because you're not always going to have your accountability people. But like, you need your brothers. You know what I'm saying? It says in the word, as iron sharpens iron, one brother sharpens another, right? You can do it yourself, but why do it yourself when you have other people? Like, why do it yourself? Because you can grow so much more when you add other people into the process. So yeah.
That's so true, bro. Like it says in Ecclesiastes, how can one man stay warm? And then like a triple braided cord is not easily broken.
Right.
So like when you have people in your corner, it makes it a lot easier. It makes life a lot better.
Yeah.
Cause like I've noticed, and you know, like when we first met, I was very hard on myself, like ridiculously hard on myself. But like you guys helped me walk through that and help pull me out of that. You know what I'm saying? But in my own strength, I would have just reverted back to what I've known. It's like, Bryson, you're a mess up. You keep messing things up. Like you gotta do better. But like, y'all was like, you know what, Bryson? Okay, you messed up, but let's just move on from it. You know what I'm saying? There's grace, there's love.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that is completely right. And I think it's so cool to just see like how like. Ooh, hold up.
Good,
we are walking through this the same way that all of the people who are watching are walking through this. Like, and what I just talked about and what you just talked about, like, it's not we're talking from a place of like we've done it. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking from a place of we're teaching this to you. You know what I'm saying? We're talking up from a place of sharing it as fellow companions in this process of walking through the journey of life in truth and love. You know what I'm saying? And I think to me that is one of the most powerful things about, you know, just podcasts and about walking together with other people. And that's why accountability is so important. Like when you are, like you said, a triple braided strand cannot be broken. Or what do you get? Branded?
It's not easily broken.
Yeah, it's not easily broken.
Yeah.
And like we never want to get to a point in this podcast where like, okay, this is what you need to do so you could get like us. No, we are still in this process together. And I don't know, I think it's so encouraging to me and it's so like just cool because it's like literally I just had this situation happen 2 weeks ago. You know, this happened a couple months when we met, right? But like we let us be living testimonies that like when you put in this kind of work, like you're gonna see the growth that you want. You know what I'm saying? Like I forget exactly what I said the first take of the episode, but it's like you got to find the beauty in the dirt before you can get to the beauty of the flowers. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be willing to put in the work, right, in the dirt before you can see the flowers that everybody wants to see. Like everybody loves to see, you know, the 20 pounds of lean muscle that you've gained and you know, the great now body that you have, but they don't want to put in or they don't really want to see all of the hours and hours of hard work that you had to put in to get in there. And because, you know, like things like social media, we like to put out the glitz and glamour, but don't diminish the dirt being so focused on the flower. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So yeah, do you want to add anything else?
I was just going to say, we just got to learn to appreciate delayed gratification because this world is so instant. We got Instagram, Snapchat, get everything in a snap. But delayed gratification is beautiful, bro. It's beautiful. When you learn to embrace it and like take it for what it is and not as, you know, it's just something I'm going through, but it's more so like something that's happening for me.
Right.
Like that's when you realize it's a blessing in disguise.
Right. And that's like, I think that's when you become a lover of discipline. I think you grow to love discipline when you grow to love delayed gratification. Like, I enjoy the process of becoming a more disciplined person. I remember I was watching this YouTube video about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and like an interviewer was asking him about like how he can smile while being in the gym for 5 hours, right? And he was he said, because I know what is in the future. You know what I'm saying? I know the goal that I'm trying to attain. I know what I want. And I know that like if I keep putting in this work, I'm going to reach towards that. You know what I'm saying? Right? And so he loves the work that he does because he knows the end goal, right? He knows what's in store if he keeps putting in the work. And I think when we become lovers of delayed gratification, we become lovers of that discipline and lovers of wanting to be a better person, wanting to reach that goal, right? We become lovers of the process as well.
Facts. Delayed, shucks.
Oh, he about to cook.
This man. But delayed gratification is what got Jesus through the cross. Because you got to think about it, like getting hit, spit on, all of that stuff, that didn't feel good.
Right.
But he knew that the end goal was like you and me could be free.
Amen.
He knew that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in light of Easter, like that's what Easter is all about. It's celebrating that delayed gratification that Christ knew that he had to endure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, I was just reading Acts today, and Paul man, crazy. But he talked about like literally he doesn't care if he dies, right? Because all he cares about is the ministry of Christ, right? And I think we can apply that to aspects of all of our lives. Now, it doesn't have to be that extreme. Like, I don't care if I die, but like, I think when we attach the like, I don't care about the pain because I know what the purpose is. You know what I'm saying? I know the end goal, what it is. And when we have that, like I said, I think you become a lover of discipline and you become a lover of growth. And that's when you really like, that's when it explodes. That's when it becomes exponential. Cause I mean, Paul, like he going crazy right now. He everywhere. Like he literally everywhere. I Googled a map of like all the places he at. Like he like, woo, 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 woo. And he's just doing it in a few days. I'm like, and he killing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like in Acts, like he is growing the church at an exponential level. Right. Like, and then it's at a point like where it doesn't seem like it, like, you know, it's under a lot of political pressures from the Romans and from the Jews, a lot of cultural like adversity, you know what I'm saying? But it is still growing. And I think part of that is because Paul knew the end goal and he was willing to do whatever it took to get to that. And we can apply that to our own lives. If you have the end goal of, I want to be this person in the future, you will not care, you know what I'm saying, the pain that comes with it. And you have to learn to become like that. But once you become like that, things become so much easier.
Facts. And I will say just in closing, like thinking about Paul because you brought him up, like do not let your past be the thing that holds you back from embracing the discipline of your future. Because like Paul had a horrible past. Like he was one of the people that was against Jesus. He literally helped crucify Christians, but yet Paul was literally one of the guys that wrote like a third of the New Testament. You know what I'm saying? Like because of Paul's faith and because Jesus changed his life radically and he had discipline, like we have the freaking, like I said, a third of the New Testament. You know what I'm saying? Like don't let your past dictate your future.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's amazing, man. Well, shoot, I think that's all that we have to say for this episode about discipline. Once again, thank all of you guys so much for, you know, helping blow this thing up, for supporting, for sharing, for liking, for subscribing, doing whatever you do. Continue to do that. We got 2 more episodes that'll be coming out before the end of this first season. We love you guys. We're so thankful. We got some cool things that'll be coming up pretty soon. So yeah, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, you know what I'm finna say.
You know.
Look, y'all be blessed, don't stress, do less, let God take care of the rest.
Amen. All right.
Yeah, I need a bag. Como se dice? I make a banger, they got it on replay. Why they talking about he say, she say? I'm probably gonna slide in there, yeah, on the field.